Here we go. Not late at all. Perfectly on time. I will not hear otherwise. I won't stand for it. And besides, any time is wolf time, right? That's how that goes. So today we'll be painting this Space Wolves Battle Brother. He has his two knives, very cool, very stylish, as you would expect, and a bolt pistol. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Do you have anything on your hobby desk at the moment? If you do, please share. It is very important to share our collective hobby efforts to fuel those hobby fires. As for where to start on this guy, we probably have to clean up the armor. There's some accessory work to do, some leathers. I think all the scabbards and the bolt pistol holster will also be a brown leather is what I'm thinking. I think that'll a warm leather color will complement the cool armor color. And for the armor color, it's a bit of a scratch build paint process here. We have this old blue steel matte from Instar, which is what I'm going to be using, and I'm gonna mix it. It sounds crazy. I'm gonna mix it with some old contrast. Took me a minute to find it there. It's this Space Wolves Gray, as you can see. It has not been used for a while. Nelson Cruz, evening to you as well. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor says, not bad, finished my final thoughts on my heavy intercessors. Then I'm going to crack into my Thousand Sons Battle Force. Thousand Sons Battle Force, eh? I hear Thousand Sons are pretty good right now. Touches is the correction there. Your final touches on your heavy intercessors. Yeah, that makes more sense. Usually I'm pretty good at spotting those typos, but every now and again a few slip by. Look at, and just like that, all that muck is spread back throughout the paint pot. Such great is my strength. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor says, are they good? I have no idea, lols. I just like me some dusty wizards. Well, look, that's a mark of integrity, if I've ever heard one. Yeah, they look pretty nice. I think they're good. Not Death Guard good, but Death Guard are so good they're bad, if you know what I'm saying. A bit too overtuned. It's like the horseshoe, right? You're so good, now you're bad. No one wants to play with you. Okay, I'm gonna take a bit of this out of the pot, and we're just gonna we're going to use contrast in the way you're not really supposed to. And we're just going to see where that gets us. Sometimes you got to enjoy the journey, right? Painting is a journey. Okay, so that's a cleaner color than what we got on there now. I would like a semi-clean finish. More often than not, I tend to paint my models clean rather than muddy and weathered. Just a little bit of weather, you know, just a few flecks, a few scrapes, I think adds that little bit of texture. So, you know, I painted, well, I didn't paint these. I got these guys together, a whole band of Space Marines, one from every chapter. I had them built for a while, more or less kit bashed in the forms they are currently sitting. But I'm finally circling back to seeing them through. That Space Wolf is ready to do some stabbing, indeed. It's quite a cool pose, honestly, for an old intercessor body. You get a lot of complaints from older hobbyists, I find, with the monopose nature of newer kits. And to a degree, you do have to work a bit harder to get cooler poses. Because you can't just twist torsos the way you would like. But the silver lining is, when those poses do come together, because of the sculpt quality and more stylish artistic direction you find in the modern kits, I think you get higher highs, if you know what I'm saying. I think that's a fairly agreeable take. Yeah, on the Thousand Suns, I have a buddy who collects Thousand Suns, and whenever any of his armies is coming around to leaks or getting new codexes or new rules, he's always messaging me. And when that was happening for the Thousand Suns, I perused the codex, because I think the whole thing was leaked ahead of time, if memory serves. And I was like, whoa! This is pretty good. The Scarab Occult Phalanx, the All Is Dust attachment, is one I've been bad touched by that kind of playstyle in previous editions, just the phalanxes of Scarab Occult Terminators and Rubric Marines. And I would not want to go up against that. If tuned to its maximum potency, I think it gets really gross. Very uninteractively gross. That's the real kicker. Okay, I'm going to try some Mournfang Brown on this weapon holster. It is a bit bright, but I think with a Nuln Oil wash it should bring it back down. That's the hope anyways. And this bolt pistol here is from the Horus Heresy. So it is an ancient weapon from a more civilized age. It also just looks better. My 2 cents. I prefer the smaller accessories. The smaller pouches. Like the bolt pistols and for the Primaris Intercessor bolt pistols are kind of huge. Okay. So these brown holsters are scabbards. Is brown the right color, or would a dark blue look better? Like an Incubi Darkness? You know what? Let's take a look at some modern GW reference. Let's take a look at the Warhammer community. Or no, the web store. That's what this is. Let me just change up the video sources. There we go. And we're off. Oh, look. It appears I am on light mode. Let's go to dark mode. Okay. Right, so, oh god. This web store. This web store. Okay, we need someone we can rotate. Blood Claws might be useful to look at too. Okay. Yes, we have brown color leathers. It appears Mournfang Brown's a bit too bright. They want something darker, something closer to Dryad Bark, maybe Rhinox Hide. How about this Battle Leader? Can we rotate? Oh, come on. These are new products. It can't even rotate. What is the store even for? Look at this. Literally unplayable. Yeah, from what I can tell, it's like a reddish brown, dark brown leather. So my intuition was correct, but gotta go even darker, even more. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor says, see, I just make dumb fun lists. I have a 3-crafted list for the Thousand Suns. That's basically a battle force plus combat patrol plus extra 10-man rubric squad. It comes up to 1,500 points exactly after an enhancement. I like that. That is essentially how I built my Stormcast. Well, yeah, how I built them. I haven't painted them fully. But yeah, I just, collect your models, put them on the table, live out some stories. I think that's the proper path. That is the more wholesome path, that's for sure. It's how things ought to be done. Net listing is gross and toxic, I think. Certainly can be. I think if everyone's on the same... If that's the culture of your hobby play group... It's not even a hobby group. If that's the culture of your local play group, then I think... It doesn't feel toxic, but it does feel pretty bad if it's only a few people who are just power gaming. Just power gaming. Where's my brown? Okay, we're gonna use Valeo's Pardo, no, Olive Brown. Yes. Kind of close to Dryad Bark. I am slowly substituting my paint pots over time. My GW paint pots. Farewell! GW paint pots. Soon. Actually, not soon, but eventually I'll have a collection of paint containers which I can always close. Oh man, this is still rather bright. We gotta go darker. Gotta go darker. Yeah, right? Look at this. Maybe Null Oil will bring it down? I don't know, though. I am doubtful. Press X to doubt. Flame Lord, welcome to the stream. Hello to you as well. What's on your paint desk, Flame Lord? Share. What's on your hobby desk? You know, a paint desk. A hobby desk can be a paint desk. It's not exclusive. It can be for painting or for building or for sculpting. Ushabti Bone. What about Ushabti Bone? Is that a reference to a paint pot that will never close? I mean, it is a fairly chalky paint, so I can imagine it would be one of them. But I'll be real, even some of my washes eventually just won't close. My GW shade paints. It's like, what's that about? I thought it was thin enough that it could always close. I mixed in a bit of black with the ongoing mixture of browns on the palette, and I think this is close. Close to what I want. What does chat say for Space Wolf grenade colors? What are we feeling? What's best? Crack grenade, or no, frag grenades. These types. What color should they be? Flamelord says, well, I actually don't have the Warhammer miniatures. I got into the IP because of lore videos and games. I won't fault that. The tabletop is not for everybody. For sure. For sure. I think it is... I think, honestly, it does have a creativity demand. I think you have to be someone who wants to paint and build things. Because often people don't like playing against unpainted models. And that can be a deal breaker for some. Is it me, or is this lighting just absolutely trash? So maybe if I turn this in such a way... Maybe that's better. Do you guys see what I see? Uh-oh. We're nicking our knee pad there. Definitely more of a bronze Aquila color for the Space Wolves, it seems. More bronze than gold, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's darken the remaining leathers of the bolt pistol, okay. And we gotta do this rope, his lucky rope. It's a lucky Fenrisian rope. That's lore. That is canon. It's woven from the fibers of the great wolf. See, I made that up right now, but I bet you some people would believe it sounds close enough to be legit. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor says, continuation from the comment above it. Oh, Ushabti Bone. Oh, right. See, I generally don't use Citadel paints anymore because of the pots, but if there's one big benefit to the range is the super specific colors they have. My current Space Marine scheme needed Ushabti Bone. Okay, well, I can appreciate that. there's some ironclad logic to that. When you want your predefined colors very specific to, especially if you see the sample, like, you know, the heavy metal paint jobs are very nice. So if you see something depicted in such a way where you're like, oh, absolutely want that, then that is the solution you must use. That is the paint system you must use. Flamelord says, I got into the series because I really love the dark, gritty art style, and I love that no one is the good guy. Always like Gray series. Well, Flamelord, I'm sorry to misinform you, but there are relative good guys in Warhammer 40k. I will break that meme if it's the last thing I do. There are, you know, they do gray things, but there are those who fight on the side of good and those who fight on the side of evil. I think that's pretty self-evident. I think to argue otherwise is false. Gotta driveway back in a bit. See ya later, friendly neighborhood Inquisitor. Imperium guys, when someone says no one is the good guy. Yes, Nelson Cruz, yes. Look, I am faction fluid though, okay? I play many armies. I collect Eldar, I have Tyranids, even got a bit of Chaos. So I think I have a pretty good understanding, okay? Pretty good understanding of how everything sits. But to Flamelord's comment, yeah, the grimdark aesthetic is just dark fantasy and dark sci-fi is awesome. Like this statue, right? You don't get that in clean sci-fi settings. You get these kind of dope, stylistic terrain pieces in grimdark settings. Super cool. Eric Brandenburg, welcome. Eric says, out with the 40k, I'm shocked you did not put a puppy pad on the hobby table. A puppy pad? Is that for training your puppies to piss on those said pads? Is that what those are for? Look, I like to chirp on the Space Wolves and how GW depicts on them from time to time, but I also, at the same time, do feel bad with how they are depicted, because, you know, you put yourself in the shoes of someone who just likes the idea of transhuman super soldiers with a Nordic twist, a Viking twist, and I think I would be just consistently disappointed with how they are depicted. I am more critical than most, I understand that, but it's a good theme, right? It's a good concept for a faction's identity in the Space Wolves. And it's just a shame how it gets mungled so often. Okay, let's paint the rest of this Fenrusian lucky rope. +5 to his luck stat, that's for sure. Flamelord says, but I love the Salamanders and the Necrons, and of course the craziest orcs. Nothing but chaos. Yeah, I like most factions. I think there's always something to like in every faction. Something to dislike as well, but that's like the nature of everything, right? Yeah, Salamanders are ultra-based, very cool. Salamanders have a sweet spot where they don't get too much lore attention, but they get enough, just enough, I think. feel like if you get too much lore attention, you're prone to having a bad, a bad series of booklets, a bad series of novels, let's say. Well, it's not always true. I guess it depends on the author. Now that I say it. Yeah, salamanders have salamanders like the Space Wolves have great themes, great characterization, a cool shtick, but they also have bad novelizations, I find. Their books in the Horus Heresy are not the high point. I think that's safe to say. That's fairly agreeable. Okay, let's use some of this black primer to pick out this chapter badge. It should immediately bump up that readability. Eric Brandberg says, out with the 40k, are you familiar with the board game Sagrada? I am not familiar with it. I don't play a lot of board games. I'm always down, but I'm usually the person who's invited to board games, not who's finding them and bringing them to the group. Flamelord says, but of course, as an open-minded person, I do like every other faction, and a lot of them are very interesting to me, especially in the lore. Right on. Yep. They all have a very cool. They all offer a cool quirk, is how to best frame it. There's always something, right? Even something like what's like the least popular, maybe least liked. Maybe like Admech. I think if you're a mature individual, you perceive Admech as more cool, but from the 10-year-old point of view, I think Admech might represent like the opposite of Space Marines in terms of the cool factor in air quotes. But even something like Admech, you get your Dragoons, right? Those are cool. Castellan robots. No, maybe not Castellan robots. They're kind of derpy compared to their 30k counterparts. But the Onager Dune Crawlers, very cool. Infantry, pretty stylish, pretty cool. Eric Brandenburg says, Sagrada is a 40k hack for dice. You get 90 d6 in 5 colors, so 5 sets of 8. It runs $35 US. Oh, it's 5 sets of 18. That is a hack for dice. And you get 5 colors. Interesting. Well, Eric Brandenburg, you are... This is a public service announcement. It's too late for me. It's too late for me. I already have enough dice. But maybe, for a guy like Flamelord, that's a good tip. A pro tip, if you will. Okay, so let's fill in more of these black sections here, these tubes. This is how he breathes. No, it's probably not. I don't know what they serve, but they do look cool. These little helmet tubes. Though mods, welcome to the stream. Space Wolves, yes. Indeed, it is the wolf time. Every time is the wolf time. That's how it works. The wolf time isn't referencing anything in particular. It's not special at all. It's just whenever a space wolf's on screen, it's wolf time. It's actually the war cry of the 6th Legion from the old days. They would yell wolf time and then run into battle. That's super cringe. I feel bad. I feel bad for making fun. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Space Wolf fans. I can't help myself. Sometimes it just seeps out from me. It's like breathing. Okay, we're gonna get some metal color, and I think we gotta darken the metals. What I would like to do, okay? What I'd like to do is on the blade edges, make these a kind of bright blue metallic. Maybe like a gemstone or a non-metallic metal. Like a highly contrasting metal material to suggest like frost weapon daggers, frost tip daggers maybe, or edged daggers, I guess. I think that would look cool and add a bit of oomph to what would be rather ordinary if they were just combat knives, right? So we can at least pretend they're like artisanally crafted frost weapons. So I want to darken those daggers. Actually, I noticed this belt needs to be leathered. Love the paint job so far, and it's looking good. Very much appreciated, Valmont. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. I think he is a handsome boy. This Space Wolf here. It's just it's a great color scheme, man. It's a great color scheme. Benefit of hindsight, he probably should have been in Blood Claw, yellow knee pad and shoulder pad, but I kind of like how it's looking, so he's just gonna roll with the red and black, the what is it, Grey Hunter grade or class. That is his level of wolfiness. Okay, where's my very professional hobby materials for mixing paints? We have a bottle cap and our metal color, and we're going to put some metal color in, and then we're going to darken it to make a darker metal color. Eric asks, are you hanging a pelt on him? No, I don't want to do much more conversion work on this little squad. They're all kind of... I'll give you guys a sneak peek. You know, since you're here on stream, there should be some benefits for tuning in. So I'll do a more formal video reveal on these guys in the future, but we have a collection of each chapter. A representation, a quintessential representation of each chapter, I think. It's pretty cool, pretty rad. So I don't want to do much more conversion work. It's more so kit bash work on these guys. Yeah, pretty fun project. He should have, you know, if I had the parts, yeah, a wolf pelt would help. A scale pelt would help for the salamanders, Battle Brother. You're not wrong, Eric. You're not wrong, okay? But, I am sick and tired of making scale pelts. I've done it for my salamanders. I've done it for, you know, my fire keepers, rather. On more than enough. I think I did them on 10 heavy intercessors and a few characters and Blade Guard veterans, and I don't really want to do any more. And wolf pelts are actually just much harder than scale pelts. I find sculpting a wolf pelt is much more arduous of a task. Something about getting hair to look natural on a pelt is very annoying. I've done a little bit of hair sculpting. I did it on the quiet sniper in the Metal Gear Orc Commando kill team that I did. There's a bit of hair sculpting there, and I feel like I've done it on some other models, but it's like, man, on a huge surface area like a pelt, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's like, it's, you know, the heart is willing, but the body, you know, it's one of those situations. You know the phrase I'm thinking of, just imagine I said it. So we have our metal coat. We're darkening the metal. And I want it to be a fairly dark steel so that the crystalline blue edge of the blade that'll come later pops a bit more. Which is why I'm going for that darker look. I kind of like how this fade is happening though. That's a happy accident. So we'll keep that. We will keep that. That says, oh shit, badass. Yeah, the squad, I think they're very cool. And I think it is pretty cool. Who doesn't like Space Marines? Only heathens. I need a more precise brush. Well, this was a precise brush, and still is technically, but now it has what I like to refer to as a mean left hook. So we can use this to just drop in some metal color onto these earpieces. Unless it runs everywhere. Looks... you know what? It's not dark, though. I need to darken that up a bit. Nelson Cruz says, Ayo, those guys displayed on a rotary display with a background would look hella good. Yes, that's the plan eventually. Yeah, I have a turntable. But you see, I use my lights to light my streaming setup. The lights I use for my streaming setup are the same lights I use for the turntable setup. And it's such a hassle to take them down and move them around. So I usually just hold off on turntable stuff and just do a batch of them. That's actually why some of the Hive Fleet Gengar stuff didn't get a turntable. We'll circle back eventually. Okay. I need a bit more black paint. What do I have that's old? I need this game color. Game color black. Just want to darken that metal color a bit more. A bit more. I feel like that's too dark. Okay, let's try this. It's lead belchery. Lead belchery. And then with the remaining metal color, I'll probably mix in some bronze to just make the GW bronze less cartoony. And start layering that over the scabbards. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Dalmons asks, what armies do you have? I have all the armies you can... No, I don't have all the armies. You can see a picture of a little preview, a little icon of all the armies I have on the channel banner. So it's... Salamander Successor Chapter, Word Bearers, Hive Fleet Gengar, which is Tyranids, obviously. A Custodes army, which I might sell. Kind of on the fence about that. I have Biel-Tan, and the Biel-Tan collection is kind of small. The Firekeeper's collection is massive. It's just crazy. I don't. If I could go back in time, it wouldn't be as large. It was from a different time. But the Biel-Tan collection is fairly small. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, and Stormcast Eternals, but they're not on the banner. They're not done enough to be on the banner. You know, you don't really feel like you have. Well, me personally, I don't feel like I have the army until they're painted. That's not some sort of tease that I have like many other factions beyond what I shared. Not at all. Eric Brandenburg says, out with the 40k, I tuned in for some of your High Fleet Gengar streams. They look great, but die to bolters like every other Xenos. This is true. This is true. Yeah, they are a army that doesn't want to fight Space Marines. They want to die to Space Marines. That's the role, right? They're the heel. They're a bunch of spooky bugs that like to do spooky things and eat psychers and scare Imperial citizens. That's what they like to do. And the Space Marines show up and they run away because they can't win. Of course they can't win. Space Marines. You know what I'm talking about? The Space Marines are going to put them down. Extermination mode. Not a chance. I've also built the army thematically, so it's good at fighting infantry, but bad at fighting vehicles. So it does speak to the theme of how they're characterized, which is good. I mean, for me, for a fluff bunny, it's good, but it's challenging when playing against people who are more meta-chasey. It's a situation like, how am I gonna get out of this one? Got some nice natural blending that came out of our layers of brands. So I think with a little bit of edge highlighting. Rough edge highlighting, mind you, because it is leather. It doesn't have to be neat. And a gnome oil wash, I think it'll look really nice. I think it would look rather good. Okay, we gotta paint that plug port. Very important. Okay, the talisman should be stone, right? Like a stone color. I think a stone color with blue etchings would look pretty cool. A little bit of glowing eye lens treatment, as per the channel video. Got a fang there, too. A lucky fang and a lucky charm. Well, this guy is super lucky. Okay, so... weapon handles probably go for black. Our metal colors are going to dry up, so we'll get the Balthazar gold, which is actually bronze. This is how GW likes to name their paints sometimes. Infamously, a similar paint is Stegodon Scale Green, which, believe me, is basically blue. It's called Stegodon Scale Green. It's in the blue section. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make a lick of sense. Okay, so here's our our cartoony bronze color. Just gonna mix it in with some of this metal color to get something a bit more chill. I like doing this with metallics because I find some of the metallic paints from GW are very potent. Okay. So let's just color match. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. And we want to put this on our scabbards. I'll hit everything with a Nuln Oil wash, and then you can layer back up with a bit of brighter silvers or brighter bronzes. I did not check the Warhammer communities today, so I'm not sure if there's anything juicy. But last stream I checked, it was like a faction focus that just had like two factions. There's a loyalist faction focus, and it had just two rights of war, I think. And I was like, oh, I feel like we're missing some. Not what I want from my faction focus article. Yeah, as an outsider to 30k. I feel like that bronze I added in here might be too thick. Eric Brandenburg says, ugh, I recently had to explain to some younger players that we are not cool because we play 40k. We play 40k because we are cool. Nice. I like it. It's a subtle but important distinction. Okay, well, it is bronze. But why is it not hitting for me? I feel like it's not sparking the joy I expected. Oh, did you guys get back to me on the grenades color? The frag grenades color? Or did I miss the message in chat? Is there a best grenades color for these Space Wolves? I could do red. It's kind of a default. Definitely the one I do on my own Space Marines. I think a olive drab color could look good. We're adding another color, but it's a fairly neutral one. Eric Brainberg says use Castellan green for frag grenades. Yep, I think that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, it's sort of like an olive drabish color. And I have an old contrast that I could use for that. Okay, clean up that. It's kind of sloppy with the application of the yellow. And they don't even have rotations of Blood Claws on the web store. It's the prices of models keeps going up and up, and we have less and less rotational references. What is that about, Games Workshop? The least you could do is maintain the same amount of rotations. I feel like that's a reasonable ask. Okay, let's put some Nuln Oil down. Whoops. Let's try this out. I'm hoping this just adds that definition that it's lacking right now. And that is what washes are supposed to do. And then, while it's wet, we mix while it's wet. That's what we do. So I'll take some off-white and some of our gray mix, and I'm hoping this isn't gonna overblow it. But we'll see. Just lining those straps and ridges. Ugh, 30k bolt pistols look so good. Definitely not your typical painting of procedures here. Everyone else says, you know, gotta wait for your washes to dry before you work over them. I'm like, do you though? Do you? I think on organic surfaces, like a worn leather bag, can actually help with the weathered effect if you get some blending between those processes going. Oh, I guess I should have washed the belt, huh? Right, because it is the same material, and you should treat all your materials the same. You know, if you want them to read. If you want them to read the same, that is. Okay, we'll give him a quick wash. We'll Nuln Oil the belt. I guess it's better. Yeah. And we also have to Nuln Oil his ear coverings, so we can do that now. And a little bit of overspill doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the overall weathered effect. We need a bit more. Eric Brandenburg asks, with the 40k, have you considered a Dark Angel and Space Wolf champion versus champion diorama? Well, these two kind of, you know, they kind of line up in their poses. But you better believe for this narrative event, for this narrative scenario, rather, that I'm cooking up. Well, I guess it's somewhere in between a narrative event and scenario. For what I'm cooking up, you better believe that we'll have some interaction between these two. Some interplay, some game mechanics that feed off one another. Because that is how it should be. That is how that should go. And we can do some distressed markings. That's a thing, right? And with that black paint, we can't... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I realize I did not do the soft seals of his neck. Oh, God. I'm not a fan of this. Okay, it's Not perfect, but perhaps adequate enough. I do think I have to give him a all-over wash with maybe Agrax diluted with Lamian Medium. The helmet's looking like it lacks definition. And I'd rather work subtract. I'd rather just darken it with a wash than paint in the darker values on such a light armor scheme. Just thinking out loud. I guess that's what you guys are here for, right? That's a streamers. That's something streamers do, right? They're always talking. Always talking or always demonstrating something specifically. Whoops. Almost had an accident. He almost suffered a mortal wound. You know, it's been such a long time since I painted this model that I don't exactly remember what the process was. He might have been primed white and then maybe airbrushed with the Space Wolves contrast that I have. But I couldn't tell you for certain. Okay, he's certainly looking more along the way. Eric Brandenburg says, my all-time favorite Dark Angel over Space Wolf action was on Macragge during the Heresy. Is that during the Unremembered Empire arc? Because if it is, that is... I know what you're referencing, I think. It's going to be very important that that black square is not shiny. You're going to want a matte finish there, that's for sure. And thankfully, this is still alive. This bronze, that is. So we can clean that up a bit. I mean, the crooked brush does not make it easier, though. Okay. We'll try and use that up while we got it. Eric Brandenburg says, yes, where the Lion dropped in on Gilliman and the Space Wolves accompanied Gilliman to meet his brother. That scene was so deep on so many levels. It was just masterfully written. I don't remember exactly how it goes down. I remember... Let's see. Is it when... I can't remember their names even. But the Space Wolves leader of that little pack, he challenges the Lion to the honor duel, or whatever. The duel they must have every time. It's, I don't particularly like that narrative choice. But I do like that character and his role in the book. And how he gets to save Gilliman's mom at the end. Spoilers. That's how spoilers works, right? You say it after you've spoiled. Okay, so to make these white, we're gonna hit them with that olive drabby contrast. Just trying to be mindful of the metal color, which looks like it's already been washed. Well, they accompanied Gilliman despite being told to wait. The Lion realized that wasn't the time or the place, so he offered to act as his own champion. Yeah, just schools him. It's like an annoyed dad. The kids want to play fight. That's how it comes across to me. Yeah, I don't... I don't know, I don't like that idea, right? This idea that, like, Russ is taking it upon himself to make sure none of his brothers are evil, have fallen to chaos. So he, like, sends these squads out to check in on his brothers. And then the ruin storm is happening, so they can't communicate and inform Russ anyways. So then what are they really checking for? I don't know. It's weird. It's been a minute, though, since I read it, so I could be misremembering. Could be misremembering key details that make it make much more sense. The Space Wolf champ reluctantly accepted, swung his power axe, which the Lion caught, then punched the Space Wolf to end the fight. Beautiful. Beautiful. As it was ordained. Okay, let's paint these buttons. I will keep one red. I think that's fine. I have a white one and a red one. You only press the red one when you're desperate. Oh shoot. Oh, I forgot. He has a gemstone on his helmet, and a gemstone has a bevel, which should be in brass. Fucked up, guys. Fucked up. This is how the sausage gets made. It's not pretty. I guess what's making it a bit more challenging to paint with this Balthazar Gold is that it's the bottom of the pot, and it's a little extra thick because of that. But I guess from here we can highlight the Aquila, so it's not a complete waste. So probably should highlight the Aquila. It's all exposed and visible. Okay, we all lined up. Let's see what we can do. If we nick the gemstone, that's okay. I'd rather nick the gemstone than the helmet. I only wish I could have been there when they reported the duel to Russ. Imagine Russ's face when he asked how long the champ was out for, only to find out he got up and limped away. Yeah, it's embarrassing, but I feel like Russ in the Horus Heresy is immune to all embarrassment because he consistently makes deranged calls. I mean, it should be a bit more fair. It should be a bit more fair to Russ's character, right? Despite how he is characterized. Yeah, he should be surprised. He should be taken aback. So I don't know if that gem is... if the paint on the gem bezel is just too thin. Or if it needs a layer of wash, maybe? when it dries, I'll put some wash over it, and we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, I will layer up the Aquila a bit so it just reads a bit nicer as a metallic detail. Let's pull in more silver. Okay, we're getting some better reflectivity. I mean, if it does look a little too silver, I could go over it with a bit of Seraphim Sepia, which should restore more of that runic, bronzy sort of aesthetic. How are we going to hit that wingtip? Okay. Not too bad. I got some spillage though. Some spillage off to the side, which we'll clean up. Now, I'd like to believe enough time has passed for this gemstone bezel. Eric Brandenburg says, well, we all know what happened last time. The lion punched Russ. Yeah, they got into a big old scrap that lasted for some inordinate amount of time, right? Like 40 days and 40 nights or something. Well, that solution is not going to work. It is not going to do us any good. Well, that chapter badge is starting to read now. We'll need to layer in a bit of gray, but that'll be after. We gotta do the bone elements and the stone, and then we're gonna do our all-over bronze wash. That has to get done. Okay, let's look at the wash selection we got. We can use... What is this? What is this? We can use Agrax. The Agrax Earthshade. For the armor, we'll mix it with some Lamian Medium, of course, and yeah, that'll be it for the wash. I don't think we have to add blue. I think if we add, what is it called? Drakenhof Nightshade. I think if we add that, it'll just tint the armor too much. We'll start looking like an Ultramarine or a Crimson Fist. Okay, so we'll need a wash container for that, and I guess before we do that, we should paint our grenades. So I want to mix this up. I'll mute myself and spare you from the efforts, from hearing the efforts I must undertake to break this up. Welcome back, friendly neighborhood Inquisitor. Look, and with all that effort, still, this is such an uncooperative paint pot. Brutal. Oh boy. Okay, that was arduous. I think it's adequate. It's I can live with it if it's not perfect. It is only 4 grenades, so we'll put the contrast on the skin, I mean on the grenades, and it should look pretty good. Yeah, about as good as I expected. Not bad for a one and done. Not bad for a one and done. Yeah. Yep, actually, very happy with how that turned out. Okay, next will be our bone colors. Steel Legion, and maybe, what do I have here? Screaming Skull. And for our stone color, we'll probably use Dawnstone. That sounds correct. I want it to be fairly dark. Because we have some blue runish lettering, so maybe if we go a bit darker. No, we'll stick with Dawnstone. If we had Iron Hands, Ravenguard, Salamanders, Dark Angels, Blood Angels, White Scars, and this is Space Wolves, I can't remember if he had an Imperial Fist there. I did, and he's awesome. Here, I'll give you guys the preview again. Look at this guy. So good. He's so cool. Yeah, he's basically done but for his scanner up top. Look, he's even got his little accessory, his little keychain. So he always knows where he belongs. He always knows. Little keychain, little accessory. We have with all 9. I don't know if this should be... I mean, it's such a small detail. It might have been part, like... It just might have been a metallic feature of the scabbard. And not actually a tiny skull. But we're kind of on this path right now, and I think I'm just going to commit to it. The tiny skull. The tiniest skull. Just attached to his scabbard. And I got this wolf fang. Wolf fang. Why does my brain think of Wolf Fang Fist? That's a Street Fighter? Is that what that's from? It could be Yamcha. It could be a Yamcha move, Wolf Fang Fist. In any case, gotta paint your Wolf Fang. Very important. We're just going to blend in some Screaming Skull to the mix. Nelson Cruz says that White Scar's helmet, though, fire. I am very happy with how it turned out as well, Nelson. And I appreciate the comment. I think it looks pretty dope. Something, like, White Scars have such swag with their red explosive or lightning bolt patterns on their helmets. It's so cool. So I think it's technically for sergeants or sergeants on bikes or something, but I couldn't resist. It's such a good look. All right, tiny skull. Tiny skull's painted. And the fang. I'd probably leave the fang as is. It's probably good enough. Leave it a bit browner towards the root. Now, I realize I didn't do any leather buildup on our lucky wolf strap, so maybe we'll do a little bit of that. Hopefully not ruin our yellow. God damn it. What did I say? What did I just say? I always say the Imperial Fists are like the US Marines, and the Ultramarines are like the British Royal Marines. Okay, I can see the through line there, the connective tissues of that analogy. Might have to adopt that one and spread it. Spread it to the locals. can't believe that yellow is besmirched. Okay, I wonder if I can remedy it with some of this Mournfang on the palette. I got some yellow on the palette too, right? Trying to do a little repair job right here. Try and use a bit of brown. It's kind of the shading color I've used. Okay, so yeah. Close. Not quite though, close. And then we'll thread the needle here. Oh, this is too thin. Will it work? I think maybe. I think it's better for it. Too bad Canada doesn't have Marines. Yeah. Not a flex. Not a flex we can do. We don't talk about that. Okay. And then we'll do some Dawnstone. After the Dawnstone's applied, I'll do the wash all over the armor. And we'll see if we ruin everything. It should be fairly subtle by mixing it with Lamine Medium. I don't think we'll get too far away from our current coloration. But it's just, I feel like there's just some severe lack of definition on the helmet here. Right? Like he needs a little something. So we'll see. We'll try and work with it while it's wet. This is his lucky charm. Space Wolves love the lucky charms. Our custom wash time. I guess we'll use a fat brush, or a bigger brush. And we probably want a hefty amount of Lamine Medium. I might have an old container, actually. Oh, I guess I don't. Yeah, I guess I don't. Okay, so we're going to get a generous amount of Lamine Medium. I'm basically doing this based on taste or feel. We're eyeballing it is what I'm saying. Okay, and we're going to apply this. Although out with the 40k Canadian Chris Elston did just defeat the Australian government. I don't know the reference. Is that in current ongoing news story, Eric? Or is it another sports reference designed to go specifically over my head? Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, we're not tinting the color too far away, and we should get some good definition from this. I've already painted the eyes, so I kind of want to avoid pooling it in there. Over top of the backpack will benefit, that's for sure. This arm needs a lot. We need a heavy helping. A heavy helping of the wash. Legs look pretty well defined. This arm, sure, why not? Oh yeah, this backpack is just not as nicely defined as everything else. We're gonna have to clean that up a bit. I think this trim will benefit. Brown washes look good over yellows. And we should do the chapter badge. Based on that reasoning, let us outline the chapter badge. And you know what? We'll I don't like to waste. I don't like to waste paints, so we'll just put the rest on his feet. Feet get dirty, so it makes sense. You get more grime, more buildup. We will be putting some texture pigments on the legs of most of these guys, so even if it's a bit heavy, it shouldn't be probably even as heavy as it is. It looks fine. Okay, let's do the other shoulder pad. For the stone, I actually want to use pure Agrax. Eric Breinberg says, no, it's political, not something to derail a stream, but something funny to Google on your own. I'll check it out. Good to know. Oh, this is some strong stuff. One does not simply apply pure Agrax to Lucky Charms. That is today's stream takeaway. Okay. Man, I actually want a bit more. Bit more Agrax, just a touch. Just a touch. We'll see if I'm gonna ruin this completely. Now, if this still doesn't add the definition I'm looking for, I will probably just pin wash the helmet. I think it's working as intended on this arm. But backpack's just poorly layered, the backpack. Can't help that. Can't help that. Oh, Lucky Charm looks actually really nice. Very readable. Okay, using some of this off-white that's still alive from our last stream. Good old wet palette doing its thing. Gonna mix that with the black paint we have ongoing and just add a bit of variance like we did on the Blood Angels knee pad from last stream. Because we have variance on our lower layer of that yellow. So we want this to fall in line. It should be rendered the same. I guess that'll be the technical term. So we put some lighter grays towards this top half. And keep our pure black towards the bottom. And I'll probably just push it a little bit more. I think these sorts of areas deserve the extra attention because they are the chapter's iconography, right? It's key. Key details. So it should be maximally readable. Okay, can we line up this neck hair or this neck fur? That's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Pop out those eyes. Oh, that sounds phrasing. Whoops. We just want to highlight the eyes. Don't pop them out literally. Yeah, it's readable. It's looking wolfish. Rather wolfish. My Raven Guard are so stealthy, the dirt and grime do not know they are there. That's quite the feat. Quite the accomplishment, I'm sure Corax would be very proud. Still kind of wet. The wash is still wet. So should we work on the weapon handles? Is a bit of a risk. Ugh, yeah, look at the still no definition. I don't like it. I think those recesses of the helmet are going to look real nice once that wash dries, but this particular edge here is definitely leaving me wanting. Let's go with some Agrax. I'm going to mix it in with what remains of our mix. And we're just going to try. We're just going to see. I probably should be using a Toiter brush for this. What time are we at? Hour 40. Okay. So I've thinned down that blue steel. That should give a good layerable color, I think. Fairly thin. Now, in the past, I recall Instar paints being very friendly to layer with, because they're fairly thin, and I added a bit of laminate medium to this, so I don't think I'm going to be overblowing it here, despite how it looks. Well, what I'm saying is I hope that it dries thinner. I think to the Firekeepers. The Firekeepers paint method uses Instar paints and for the armor, but the key difference is it layers onto a much darker base than what we're doing here, so bit of experimentation. Yeah, it is fairly thin. That messy underlayer is still showing through. I mean, the key will just be to sort of blend it away. Keep some of it towards the the edge of the panels. Okay, let's do the lean back test. Lean back, get a further away look, evaluate readability, very important. Eric Brandenburg says I'd put some frost on that backpack. You mean a snow texture? Or do you mean a particular color of blue? Because I want to put some frost on these blades, if you know what I'm saying. We'll use a few colors for that. A favorite of mine, AK Dark Prussian Blue, and Light Turquoise as our kind of medium blue, and then for the hot highlights, or bright highlights rather, we'll mix in some White Scar to the turquoise. That should make him look real cool. Pun intended, I guess. Okay. The thing about Dark Prussian Blue is it has this bizarre kind of like amber sheen. I don't know how to describe it. We're going to cover up most of it. But I think it can show through in the darker areas of the blade, which should enhance the contrast of our frost weapon tips versus the metal color steel. It's going on a bit too watery though. I can't control that. Just want to draw that along the blade. I think it's okay. Risky business. Yeah, the metal color on that blade's looking good. I don't want to ruin it. When I charge refrigerant in an outdoor unit, the can of refrigerant gets covered in frost as the refrigerant boils to make vapor to fill the vacuum. I figure Space Wolf's backpacks would do something similar. Interesting. Some frosty buildup. I don't know if I'm speaking to the technical understanding of what you're explaining, but I don't know if the Space Wolves power packs are keeping them cool, necessarily. I think they're just powering the armor. I don't think it's a Mr. Freeze situation. That's a good way to put it. I don't think it's like a cold suit to keep him cool. A cold suit that's powered by diamonds. At least in that one movie, Batman and Robin. Damn, that movie's awesome. It's a good bad movie, if you know what I mean. It's actually a great bad movie. I'll go as far as saying it's great, sure. So we mixed in some turquoise with the AK. I'm just going to try and feather that in there. We'll keep those dark sections towards the edges, and tighter, build up the highlights towards the middle of these areas just to create a gradient. Hopefully, that's the goal. And look, if it looks like shit at the end of the day, we can just cover it all back up with a metal color. It's not too bad. It's an easy fix. Okay, we're approaching the pure turquoise color now. Gotta edge highlight the blade edge as well with this turquoise to kind of sell the effect. Maybe we'll do that now before adding in our white. Start blending towards white. I don't know how I feel about how it's shaping up. I don't know, I'm gonna have to keep massaging it a little bit. Okay, we'll get some of this white scar goop. Not paint, not quite paint. It is a whitening agent. I don't know. Oh, I like that. The blade edges becoming wider is certainly the right path. Wait, now you guys can see it better. Looks like Space Wolves recently got it a Tau. I approve. Hey, if it's looking cool, that's what I want. It's like a frost forged steel. I think I've done a similar effect, but with reds on a few Salamander's weapons. I kind of like that. They use inversed technology. Hot weapons and cool weapons. Okay, lean back, table test. Let's bump it up with a bit more white. I think we're gonna keep it. I think it's looking all right. So we'll go even tighter. Even tighter with this last layer. And this edge highlight should probably not go broadly across all of it. It should kind of bleed out. Yeah, kind of like that. I wonder if I need to line those edges. That's risky business, though. That's, you have to go super straight. Super straight. We'll just add a bit more flair to like what would ordinarily be a cool pose, but low wow factor weapons, right? Like everyone likes power axes, you know, power thunder hammers, right? For their space wolves, right? Like combat knives, even though the pose is cool, isn't exactly a. It's not considered a wow factor weapon, right? But giving it a little bit extra treatment on the materiality side of things, I think will compensate. Now, I won't bother with the bottom of the blade because it's not really player facing, like you're never really going to see it, so we'll just leave it like that. But I think this looks pretty cool. At the very least, they look special. It's not nothing. Jeez, that helmet is still... We're just going to have to go with pure Agrax, I think. Oh, well, this blue steel color is actually great for edge highlighting. It's like the perfect bump up in intensity without getting too loud. Okay, we'll stop using this brush for that, though. Before we do edge highlighting, let's get some pure red. Maybe some... I think pure red and the existing black we have is enough to do his ruby. His ruby forehead gem. His third lucky charm. We already have a red base that we're working with, so I think maybe we can just get into painting the bright tones. I don't think you want to paint the surface. It's so small is a problem. So it's kind of like painting eyes. You have such a small area. It's like low resolution. There's not a lot of pixels to work with. So every little mark makes a huge difference in the readability. I'm just trying to build up a cross pattern on the edges. I don't know if it's even going to read well at all. We'll see. We shall see. Just mixed in some of our white scar. Jumping a bit ahead in the value increase, but I'm wondering if we just get away with it. And if cleanup needs to be made, I could go back down to pure red. I don't think that's a bad route to go. Maybe that's a good trick for doing gems. You block in your extremes, your low value, your high value, and then go from there. Yeah, so that is pretty crude. Let's try and clean it up a bit. Yeah, I think actually that helped a lot. Subtle, super subtle. Super subtle, but right. I think between the gemstones and those cool blades, he's got some wow factor going for him. Nice. Now we can use pure red to pop out that weapon. Or sorry, not the weapon, the button. The red button. The emergency button. Shit. Got some overspill there. Can we undo it? Nearly. I feel like when the palette's in view of the camera, it fights for autofocus. Nice. Oh, you know what? I'm digging these blades. Okay, next we're gonna do pure Agrax. Just gonna see. Just gonna see if this does the trick. Finally gets the helmet reading the way I want. I think the eyes could use a bit of contrast also. I'm going to try something risky. We're just going to put Nuln Oil around the edges and see if that hopefully doesn't ruin anything. We'll see how that looks once it dries. Might have to clean up the cheeks, so to speak. But while it dries, we can crack on. Crack on with the armor edge highlighting. Riveting stuff. Very exciting. Edge of your seat content for sure. I think you kind of want a shittier brush for this sort of work. No, not a gutted Tau. Yeah, it's for sure they bleed blue, but I don't think it's because of them. This is clearly some sort of Fenrisian blue steel. Space Wolf is looking badass. Thank you very much. I think he's shaping up well. The blades add that extra oomph, I think. Definitely added that extra oomph. Oh, we do need to put a little strap color here. Not sure what that should be. This is a bit more risky business. Oh god. I mean, any area that has a bit too much of edge highlight, if color matching is an issue, you can just turn it into a chipped area of armor. Is probably what I'll do with that one spot. I will be doing some... Oh, Thalmod says I will be doing some ultramarine painting tonight. Oh, really? Nice. Good to have hobby camaraderie in the chat. What will you be painting for the ultramarines? that's a bit too thick. Maybe it's not a huge deal if edge highlighting isn't pristine on the feet, since they are going to get weathered. Eric Brandenburg says, sigh, I am procrastinating on finishing the Terminator Librarian for my Raven Guard. Would that be the, not Indominate, the Leviathan Terminator Librarian? The man who has too many runes for his own good. The Ultramarines Librarian that looks suspiciously like he fights for the Word Bearers. If so, I can see why you're procrastinating on the model there, Eric, because there is an obscene amount of sigils on that guy. It feels like he's overcompensating. Compared to the classy librarians of old, you know? It's like less is more. That guy has... That's kind of why I turned mine into a word bearer. A word bearer Terminator Sorcerer, because he is just a bit too loud with all his runes. And some of those runes are the same ones you find on the word bearer's decal sheet, which I'm sure isn't an unintentional coincidence, right? I'm sure GW is aware of that. The purged old librarian runes that the word bearers twisted for their dark purposes. But if it fits, you know what I'm saying? If it fits... Damn, those are some ugly ass edge highlights. Might have to try and clean that up a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, that's better. I wonder if GW do a Gravis Librarian or a new Jump Pack Librarian. They should do... Oh my god. Gravis Librarian. It's like... Ugh, why would they... Okay, the answer should be Jump Pack Librarian. 100%, right? Because you have this legend, the Legends problem that GW has turned it into. The Legends issue where you need those Jump Pack units back. Those Jump Pack leaders. But because of the leadership, the overly rigid leadership pairing, where you can only attach Gravis to Gravis and Jump Pack with Jump Pack, unless you don't have enough models like the World Leaders or Tyranids, then you can start attaching things that don't necessarily belong with each other. Not so much for Tyranids lacking models, they just screwed up Warriors. That's a tangent, though. Because of that problem, I really hope it doesn't necessitate a Gravis Librarian. Because there's an overabundance of characters in the game. The GW's desire to release minimum viable product with each codex release, which takes the form of single character, contributes to that overabundance of characters. But also the rigid leadership pairings contributes and incentivizes that problem as well. So it's like, it's very annoying to me. Because that's not what should be informing the creation of new product, right? Why can't you just attach your librarian, at least the standard one, in Tacticus armor, to a Gravis armored unit? The jump pack you can kind of understand because they move so much faster, right? Bikes you can understand. Anyways, that's my rant, I guess. My incoherent, rambly rant. Okay, well look, I think the darkened eyes actually worked to enhance the aesthetic. Try and clean up the cheeks a bit so he doesn't look so tired. And clean up this as well. Okay. And the helmet now is having that definition in that groove that I was looking for. So let's paint these upper surfaces. It's a very thin layer of paint we got going on here. But that's probably what you want when layering a detail like a face, because you want that control, that steady build-up. I gotta clean up that blemish. Yeah, the Space Wolves definitely have a good scheme going for them. Jump Chappie was my go-to warlord back in the day. Is that right, Eric? Oh yeah, Jump Pack Chaplain. It's pretty dope. Attach that with your Vanguard Vets or your Assault Squad. Will Ludwig. Though EU Ultramarines. Oh, referencing to thou mods, VU mods. Ultramarines are pretty cool, alright? They get a bad rap. Hear me out, guys, okay? These are the late hours of the stream, so get a bit more candid. I feel like I'm going to swing this idea past Maka and North as well. But I feel like maturing in 40k is realizing the Ultramarines are actually based. How do you feel about that? Is it too spicy? Is it too real of a take? Eric says the weirdest thing is that GW will not allow you to attach a lieutenant to a desolation squad. Yes. It is weird. They have this idea around desolation squads and which they treat in the same template as Devastator squads. And they have this weird idea that only Tech Marines should attach to them. Or maybe there's another option too. But it's something you see on the Chaos side of things with Havocs and Warpsmiths as well. It's like, why is the vehicle guy hanging out with the fire support squad? It's a bit weird to me. Nelson Chris says Smurfs for the win. Hell yeah, Smurfs are pretty cool. Smurfs are, they're cool. I like them, but I like all chapters. They all have lame parts. They all have lame aspects and cool aspects. Oh yes, the power of edge highlighting. Amazing. The definition. Oh, I fucked it up. Got too excited. Got a bit too excited there, guys. Yeah, look, we cleaned it up. Disaster averted. And I'm going to take this model, and I'm going to post it to the Space Wolf subreddit, and I'm going to say, hey, just painted my first Space Wolf. Praise me. Praise me for this first Space Wolf I painted. I kid. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because I have integrity. Although I probably could take it and post it there as just a share. I don't really post on Reddit as much as I probably ought to. Oh yes, this armor panel's looking so good. Amazing. You know, I kind of regret not edge highlighting our Blood Angel from the last stream now, because I'm seeing the yield. I'm seeing the yield on this guy here, and I'm like, oh, he could have looked this good. And to be honest, I think I did a better job layering the paints, the paint values, so he would actually look better, even better than the Son of Rus. The Sons of Rus. That's how you actually pronounce it. I hope you guys know. Leman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wolves. Eric says librarian can attach to Desolation as well. That's what I run for a 4-up invulnerable. Fucking hate invulnerable saves. Sorry, not. That's no slight to you. That's just my salt seeping out. 4-up invulnerable save. It's not as rude on a squad like Desolation Marines, but it's still very strong. But I need those lethal hits on super frag missiles. Yes, the super frag, not to be confused with the regular frag. Certainly could benefit from lethal hits because of their lower toughness, or strength rather, so that makes sense. Nelson Cruz says, at with the 40k. Just curious, how many hours do you spend painting an awesome Space Marine like that? This guy was painted a little bit before the stream, so whatever state he was in before was probably about 3 hours. No, I don't know. It was so long ago, Nelson. That's the problem. I believe he was probably airbrushed and then hit with a wash, probably. And then whatever freehanding was on the knee pad. So maybe 2-3 hours for that? I don't know. It was so long ago. I feel like that's too much time for what he was. If it was just airbrush primed, washed, and then picked out a little bit. But I am not a speed painter. I definitely stop to smell the roses while I paint. I don't know. I enjoy the creative process of painting. I think it's missing the forest for the trees if you're just painting your army to get it tabletop, getting it done just so you can play it on a tabletop. Speed painting just so you can play. I'm not trying to shame that necessarily, but I think for me, I would be missing a certain creative satisfaction if I were just to speed paint and bang them out. Right? I've been down that dusty trail. That's how my Firekeepers collection got so large. You just been like, oh no, I need to. Now this faction came out. Oh, I need to get something to be able to fight that faction. Right? Oh, this guy started showing up in my local play group, and he's playing that army. Well, I better get this. And it's a bit of a trap. I found it to be a trap, and I found it left me with a lot of bad feelings around hobby decisions. Buying things for the wrong reasons, really. I'm pretty sure in the nearly 100 painting streams I've done at this point, there should be some projects that you can see that are basically start to finish. And that gives you a pretty good sense of time spent for painting to the standard I paint, and well, how fast I do it anyways. Yeah, there must be a few that are start to finish. There's also a bit of time that's lost from chatting or looking up, interacting with people in chat. That's also something to consider if using the streams as a gauge, but I guess that's the best way I can answer your question. I haven't necessarily done a time capture. There's a guy on Instagram, I think. The guy on Instagram I follow, Liam Paints, I think. And often he'll post, like, a marine like this. He'll be like, look at this. 60 hours. And it's like a single model. And it's like a, it's a nicely painted model. I am very confident I have not spent 60 hours on this. Okay, so the bottom half, the legs. He's all legs. The legs look good. Legs of the armor's looking real nice for that edge highlighting. Man, I really regret not doing it on our Blood Angel now. Right, like even the belt. Even his belt. Just want to be mindful of our cool blade edge, not to muck it up. LOL 40k arms race, I love it. There's an appeal to it, right? It's a fun, exhilarating ride. there's a certain fondness I have for it, but ultimately, I don't think that path was good for me, let's say. I think I much prefer having a thematic army rather than power chasing, power grabbing. Nelson Cruz says, I'm a really lazy painter, and I usually take like 4+ hours to paint one guardsman. I really need to be on a vibe to paint to finish one mini in one day. And that's on an average level. Yeah, it seems pretty reasonable. Look, you certainly get more yield when batch painting. That's inarguable. It just saps all joy from what is supposed to be an enjoyable spend of time. Right? Like, I don't want it to feel like work. You know, it's supposed to be a fun pastime. Painting some models. Right? Engaging with your hobby, right? Okay, kind of skirt a little bit to not nick this Aquila. Okay, I think we did it. Eric says, well, I am evil. During the holiday season, I was right by the Salvation Army lady ringing her bell with a big GW bag and smile ear to ear. Oh, God. Not evil, but you're not evil. It's okay. Look, this is a safe space. There's a safe space here for people who like painting and hobbying. Oh, that's too thick. Terrible. Terrible. And I've nicked the strap. Oh, God. I mean, I can live with the strap, or the too thick edge highlighting on an area you won't really see, but I gotta clean up that point there. Okay, after this edge highlighting's done, we're wrapping up the stream. We are into overtime, and there are things that need doing. There's a fair warning. Yeah, I feel like the base coat was done with an airbrush. Because we got, look at the soft... I mean, look, I do know how to do a blend, right? But I feel like this was an airbrush blend. I feel like that's the case. Yeah, airbrushes are also a tool which, once you get over the skill curve, the initial skill curve is terrible compared to brush painting. But once you get over the skill curve, it is drastically a faster tool. There's a skill curve and then a troubleshooting curve, and you have to master or become proficient in both of those barriers for airbrush work. That's the best way I could kind of term it. And once you have those two skills under your belt, airbrushing is a very efficient way to lay down paint, and it will be faster. But while you're wrestling with those skill curves, especially the troubleshooting one, sometimes it will eat up all your time. Right? You sit down. Oh, I'm going to do a few bit of, I'm going to sit down with a few hours I have today of spare time, and I'm going to engage in my hobby. And then you'll find you're just troubleshooting your airbrush for all of it, and it's very frustrating. But once you get over those two issues, it's definitely your friend. Whoops. Drifted off screen. I need a producer. Like a news anchor, you know? I need someone to be able to, like, speak into my earpiece and tell me, you're drifting, you're drifting. And we're just gonna edge highlight the top facing parts of the arms. But guys, this guy's looking fucking awesome. Hit those fingers. Oh, I fucked that up. With the 40k, those grenades rock. While a bullet may have a name on it, a grenade says to whom it may concern. Yep. I like that a lot. Yeah, those grenades did turn out well. Good suggestion on the olive colored grenades. Adds an extra color, but it's low saturation, so it's not adding it's not creating a clown show, a kaleidoscopic kind of situation here. So I think it was the right call. I do want to put like a plasma glow effect on here if possible. Might look into that. We might. It would be a pretty quick process because super small detail. I just wonder if I layer in some ink. If I layer in some ink, will it just do its thing? Run into the recesses and then hit it with a blue contrast? Maybe a frost heart? Maybe a diluted frost heart? I think it might look good. That should be like a magic lucky charm. Alright, nearly ready for the upper body. Well, the head anyways. It's gotta do shoulders, and I guess the jump pack, but I can do that a bit haphazard. I don't quite mind. Looking at the blood claws on the web store. Ah, man, the armor looks so good. The smaller gorget, they just look more like classic Space Marines. Weird. But I guess it's to be expected. It does feel like that's what intercessor squads should have always have been, but we are where we are. I feel like there's a lack of definition on the sculpt here. Not quite able to catch the edge. That's risky business. Let's just line the eye instead. I don't want to accidentally draw the brush tip across the eye lens. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let me get a bit more comfortable. Okay, getting some good definition on our face. On the face of our Marine here. So, what remains? Just the backpack. We'll just do a few of these edges. Well, all but one. We'll ignore the downward facing edges. I like to create the illusion of top lighting, of top ambient lighting with the edge highlights. It also means you have to do less edge highlighting, which is a secondary win from that choice. I mean, while the backpack is a bit sloppier in its paint job, I think we can get away with it. The power pack would naturally be a bit more grimy, right? That's not just Cope talking. I think it's reasonable. I'll hit these squares. And this is where we get a bit sloppier, a bit lazier with the edge highlighting, but I think it's okay. It's all about finding what you can get away with, I think. And we've edge highlighted majority of the armor. Okay, I think all we need to do is the butt plate. Then we'll do a quick bit of runage. Quick bit of glowing rune action. Then he'll be donezo. Oh, I forgot about that one leg. Shit. Spoke too soon. Let's try and quickly define this leg. Nolan Cruz says, I wish GW made more of those sets that have minis and paints. Maybe one for each faction would be super cool. Oh, right, yeah, like a little getting started kit for each faction. Right, a few minis, a few easy to build miniatures. Not every army has some easy to build options. But it would make sense, right, to have more of these avenues to see if you like what this is about. Okay, so that leg looks adequate, like the other one now. Well, I like him a lot. I guess we should have... No, we'll leave that dark. I don't think that's a seam. I think this is a recess that would collect dirt. Okay. Let's do our rune. Oh no, the butt plate and then the rune. Gotta paint your butt. That's all you need, honestly. We could edge highlight the leathers. I hope this is not too brown. Oh shoot, we do need a strap for this forward, this upper scabbard. Maybe red is the answer. A dark red, though. Just to make it a bit more readable. Oh, I've exhausted the playlist. Shit. Okay, we'll try this out. Oh, weird. Huh. Well, we'll run this for a bit. Okay, let's get the ink going. We'll try out Frostheart this time. Some Frostheart contrast. You can see I rarely use this one. I thought it would replace Talisar as a potent, vibrant plasma color, but it's just not vibrant enough. And maybe for like a rune stone sigil, maybe it's the right value, so we'll try it. One other thing I would like to try. We'll have to shake this up first. Yeah, we don't need much because it's a super small detail. So you get the tiniest amount of flow improver and some ink. Whoops, that's basically, I think, all it'll need. So we'll just mix that around. And I think this brush will be adequate for it. Yeah, something like this. Well, a little bit of overspill for our OSL effect. That's sort of how it works. Just a bit. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good base. Yo, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but this guy's looking pretty fucking good. Just saying. If I may say so. So ink will take a while to dry, so let's look at what remains. What remains? Any last minute things? Nelson Cruz says, it was that 3 Assault Intercessor kit that hooked me up on 40k Hobby. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. 3-man Assault Intercessors, or like 3 Necron Warriors, or 3 Termagants. Yeah, it would be really nice if they had those for every faction. Right? With your quintessential battle line unit. Right, like 3 Fire Warriors. I think it'd be smart. Okay, we're gonna get a bit of silver straight from the bottle here. I don't need much. I just noticed I missed a spot. I missed a little bit of keychain right here. And that's all it needs. That's all it needs. Clean up that hilt here. Like for details like fingers, you want them to be as readable as possible. So I think it's worth cleaning them up. I think it's worth cleaning up those small details. Or at least enhancing their readability. Eric Brandenburg says, something else you should try, pan-seared sea scallops. Oh, Eric. Don't talk to me about food. I'm trying to be strong. I'm trying to be strong. Honestly, about the 40k, I do not know what has taken you so long. Yeah, pan-seared sea scallops. I am an enjoyer of oceanic foods, for sure. Except for maybe oysters, because they're basically like giant ocean boogers. But everything else, I'm pretty much down with. Okay, let's see if this is if this rune is dry. Let's do a little test. I think we're ready. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try a 1-to-1 with this in contrast medium, because contrast tends to be pretty potent, pretty concentrated. So we're gonna try and dilute that down. A little bit of the medium, a little bit of the translucent medium. And we'll see. Okay. Try and keep this in frame here, and bam! Think we made it worse. Let's try and pull that off. I feel like it's bad phrasing. Okay, well look, it's blue-ish. I don't hate it. Actually, I do kind of hate it. Get contrast all over. What happens if we contrast all over and then put the white ink back in once this dries? So I think about it, that's what I do. Haha, do. That is what I do when painting plasma weapons, right? Like this Dark Angel. This Dark Angel's plasma was done with that sort of process. Where can I get it? The lighting's kind of trash. Right? White ink, contrast in, and then white ink again where we want it brighter. So it reads fairly well. So I think maybe that's the process. Maybe that's the process. Oh, I don't think I edge highlighted the shoulder pad. That would be a shame. Good thing we're waiting for these processes to dry. Does anyone in chat have a good recommendation for a cool Viking or Space Wolves appropriate soundtrack I can use for an Instagram reel for this guy? For the Dark Angels one, I used a soundtrack from Final Fantasy VIII called Maybe I'm a Lion. It has a cool vibe and the name's on point. And the reel did fairly well. And for the Blood Angels one, I'm planning to do a Devil May Cry. The Devils Never Cry kind of opening bit, which feels very angelic, very appropriate. But what to do for a Space Wolf? So with the contrast dry, I'm going to try and drop in some white ink. Well, it's white ink mixed with a bit of our Frostheart. So it's like a bright blue ink, which might be what you want. Try and increase the contrast here by adding some frost heart in and around. Honestly, I think that reads pretty well, right? It's subtle. It's like a low glow. Low glow? Is that cope? I think we can work with this. Right? You see him from this angle. A cool rune. He's looking good. And then you're like, bam! Look at these blades. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. Should we also cross-reference the Space Wolf's heraldry sheet? I don't think I'm missing any heraldry. I think we're all right. Cool. Alright guys, well I think we're going to call it here. Nelson Cruz asks, now time for the real question. Who is the squad leader? That's a good question. Each of them will, so not to get too much into the game mechanics of the scenario, but each of them will have abilities that they each specialize in. The Ultramarine Sergeant has the most command-oriented benefits or abilities. It does poise him as the commander. The Dark Angel character is more of a slayer. The Imperial Fist isn't bad, but honestly, it's probably the Ultramarine. I think that's probably the area they excel in most compared to their contemporaries, honestly. Just looking at them now. I'll do a video before the event, kind of teasing it and explaining the scope. And then I'll do a video after the event with a rundown. With a rundown on the rules, how the system works. I'll probably provide the rules as well, because if people think the premise is fun, and with the playtest thus far, it has proven to be very fun. It'll be available for anyone to try. But anyways, guys, we're all done here. We've clocked into overtime. I will be doing another stream later this week, Friday. We'll be streaming in lieu of channel regular videos for the next week. But in any case, where are we? If you guys made it to the end, you are the real hobby heroes. As usual, thanks to everyone who tuned in and shared in the hobby camaraderie. Very much appreciated. Helps keep the momentum and motivations high. But with that, I'll